Welcome to 4th and 1. Well, I always got it done. I say it again. Welcome to 4th and 1. Well, I always got it done. Bringing facts by the time before the rising of the sun. But this ain't me in a shotgun, Mr. Florio. It's me in front of your TV having a whole lot of fun. Peggy.
Yes, sir.
Who we got?
We got the big personality.
Yes.
Best reporter.
Yes.
Mr. Mike Florio, thank you for coming to 4th and 1.
Hey, thank you for having me. I
you.
love it. And hey, Cam, you and I have one thing in common.
Talk to me.
It's not athletic ability.
Why not?
It's not height.
No.
It's not charisma.
What you got?
It's not teeth. You got great smile.
They're fake.
You got great everything. All right, we both like a cigar. I got one for you for later.
My guy.
Little peace offering. I know you like them. Now, I would never smoke one during a show, but I smoke them when the show's over. But I like how you smoke during a show. And you can't do it here. I know you want to, but you can't.
Mike.
He need to come to fellowship.
But listen, let me tell you something. You just went so high because this is the thing. We always see people in media. We don't know people in media. You see what I'm saying? There was things, obviously, through this year for me that I had to learn and still am learning. When I look at Mike Florio, your whole career journey in media, how long have you been in media?
23 years. And I practiced law for about 10 years before I got in. I did both for about 8 years until NBC came along and they said, we want you to stop practicing law. And I acted like I really wanted to keep practicing law so they'd give me a little more money.
Right.
But I was really ready to get out.
Right.
So I got out, but I ended up practicing law 18 years and I've done this 23.
What school?
I went to Carnegie Mellon. And then I went to West Virginia University Law School because I didn't have any money left.
Wow.
I spent all my money at undergrad, so I was busted out, and I didn't want to owe for the rest of my life on school loans, so that was that.
I think this is the biggest misconception that I think people have made with my take in sports. Obviously, with you having such an illustrious, profound career in media, you don't get to that point without knowing what you're supposed to do. Obviously, being a very student of the game, covering sports in a way that, a lot of people do, but the longevity is key. So for me, I think how or what is needed for a person who may not have the physical prowess, who may not have the height, who may not have, the dynamic to play sports, but they want to cover sports. I'm speaking to my son right now. Right? He doesn't care to play football, but he loves sports. To the viewer that sees this, what would be the steps to covering sports in this new age of media?
Well, and before I do that, I'm reminded of something. The first time I ever saw you, because you're talking about height.
Yeah.
2011, draft day.
Yes, sir.
First day of the draft. I was staying at a hotel up the street from Radio City Music Hall. And I was walking down toward Radio City Music Hall to cover the draft. And I saw you coming on the red carpet the other direction. And I saw you walking and I said, oh, they built a platform for the guys to walk on across the red carpet. And as I got closer and closer, I don't know if I can swear on this.
No, you can.
But I said, holy shit, that's no platform. That's a giant. Giant among us. So that was the first time I ever saw you, and my jaw just dropped. It's like, man, that guy is huge. And not that size is the only thing that guarantees a great career, but I knew from the get-go, I knew from your first game you were going to be great, and you were great. For somebody who isn't in a position to do it athletically, look, I fell in love with the NFL when I was 7 years old. December 23, 1972, the Immaculate Reception game, Franco Harris, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Long story short, I didn't care about football before that. We had a house full of grown-ups. And, when you're a kid and the grown-ups are like different, and grown-ups don't get excited about anything. They got so excited when that happened, Cam. I said, this needs to be something I'm paying attention to.
Correct.
So I started following it. I've always followed it. I've always loved it. And then when the internet came along, it was a great equalizer. I didn't have to go to school and study journalism. I didn't have to go work covering high school baseball in Kansas and work your way up and go to this paper and this paper and this paper. I could just write and I could speak and I could fashion my voice out of my house. And I built my website from nothing and put time into it every single day, and it started to grow, and it started to grow, and and it started to grow. And then we started discovering other forms of media because it was just typewritten content. It's still a lot of what we do.
Correct.
It's typed up. But then you discover podcasts and videos, and NBC came along, and it took 8 years to really take off,
right.
But it was a lot of hard work. I mean, the bottom line is, and I know it makes me feel old to say that,
right.
but the younger generation always needs to hear, if there is something you want, whatever it is,
right.
you got to be willing to make the sacrifice
Absolutely.
and put the work into it, or you're never going to get the most out of it that you can.
Right. I love that. This whole new state and phase of media right now, it's in a very revolutionary state. They're going with a more vibrant, they're going with a more entertaining, they're going with a more, okay, who can do numbers, right?
I know, it's a tough balance. It's a tough balance.
It's like, even I was having this conversation, or, just with a person who I know dearly, Greg Olsen, right? Greg Olsen is getting the shoulder tap for Tom Brady, right? And the network does that for viewers. I know Greg. I know the competitive nature of him. He probably doesn't like it. He probably feels like, okay, he understands it, but that's just the state of media as a whole, right? For you, the state of, or what would you say, covering sports for so long, what was the golden era of football? Are we in it, or has it passed?
Well, I always like to think that what we're seeing now is the greatest that we've ever seen. It's so hard to compare eras, because back when I was growing up, when the season ended, you threw your cleats in the closet, you went and worked a different job. It wasn't paying the kind of money it pays the players now. I mean, we were talking to Max Crosby the other day. He never takes a break from his nutrition routine, his exercise routine. It's 365 days a year. And a lot of guys do that.
Correct.
Now. There's never a break. So I think that right now we are seeing the best of the best that the human anatomy can create, so it's the best of the best players. Now, the rules have changed in a way that has made the game a little more, or a lot more, focused on the offense, and that frustrates some people. Derek Brooks was telling us yesterday that tackling is a lost art, and it is, because they don't practice it like they used to. The year you came in after the lockout, that was the year that everything changed. Everything changed, and you don't tackle, and you got to be careful, and you have less time in the offseason, and guys don't learn the skills they used to learn. But when I look at some of the best players we have today, when you look at Patrick Mahomes, we all want to witness history.
Yes.
What he's doing, and I know Tom Brady won his 7, but he did it differently. With Patrick Mahomes, he got 6 years in the NFL as a starter. He's got 2 Super Bowl wins. He's in number 3. And when you look back at some of those other years, like 2018, if that coin flip goes the other way in the AFC Championship, could have had one there.
Correct.
2020, if he didn't have a toe that needed to be surgically repaired 2 days later, could have beaten the Buccaneers that day. They were up against the Bengals the next year in the AFC Championship, 21-3. They start screwing around, and they blew that one. I mean, he could already have 3 or 4. We are seeing greatness from a sustained year in and year out early career basis that we've never seen before. So I always want to think that what we're watching now is the best it's ever been, and hopefully it keeps getting better.
So even with that tape, right, and I did a segment, the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people are loyal to their beliefs. There will be people or pundits or fans that will never give the due diligence to Patrick that they gave to Tom Brady, or the due diligence of the Michael Jordans versus the LeBron James or the Kobe Bryants, right? But as I kind of think about this space of sports, covering, you've seen from a realm where digital media, I remember watching cable TV, and then boom, Sunday Night Football was that. Now it's digital. We've seen the numbers of the Peacock with this year. How has that impacted how people consume the NFL experience, so to speak?
Well, and Ken, that's a great question, because is it the world is changing and the NFL is trying to keep up? Is it the NFL is trying to anticipate the changes that are happening, or is it the NFL is trying to force the change? Either way, we are moving farther and farther away from the old TV models. At some point, there will be heavy streaming, if not exclusive streaming, of all of these games. I don't know when it'll be. I've been told for years it's coming. We're getting closer and closer. To have 23 million people tune in to watch the playoff game, that tells you the ball is moving in that direction. And I think part of it too is the population change, the demographics. As the older population naturally cycles out, which is a tactful way of saying we're all going to die someday, right? As the older generations move on, then you have people who aren't intimidated by turning on the TV and seeing all those. I say to my wife all the time, because her parents are still with us and they're in their 80s, and it's like, you turn our TV on and they see all those squares, they aren't going to know what to do. How do you even begin to know what to do? And she helps them where she can, but they don't have a TV. They don't have a smart TV. You could never, I would have never imagined as a kid what we see now. So I think with each passing year, we get closer and closer to the point where it is going to be more streaming, and at some point it's going to be all streaming.
Last question. The state of the NFL, do you like it? And also, what would you change about it?
Well, Cam, I love the NFL because I was indoctrinated by NFL films back in the days of John Facenda with that deep voice because he chain smoked cigarettes. And it just sounded great, and it was slow motion and the snowflakes in the air. It was just great. So I have an ideal for what the NFL should be. Now, I think the NFL needs to take better care of the men that people tune in to watch. The players need more. The players need to be treated better. I've been on that soapbox for years now. I don't think they do enough to take care of the current players. I don't think the players get enough. I think a lot of money gets jammed in the pockets of the owners, and they all have these 600-foot yachts. Where's the, they're making their money. So I believe that there should be a greater appreciation of the physical sacrifice. You know it. You lived it. You got to get out of bed the day after playing on a game. This crap about artificial turf versus grass. And they'll come up with all these statistics. You can come up with statistics to support anything you want. The bottom line is guys prefer grass to turf. And I defy them to find one current player who will say, yeah, I love playing on that stuff. I love how my joints feel the morning after. When I was young and we could have access to the old cement artificial turf. We thought, oh, this is so cool. Let's go play on AstroTurf. The pros play on AstroTurf. And then the next morning, none of us could walk because all the force goes back up into your body. So I just want to see a greater appreciation of the guys who are the reason why we love the sport. They're the ones who need to be taken care of. They need, if they can put the grass fields in at AT&T Stadium and MetLife Stadium and SoFi Stadium for the World Cup, they can do it for the NFL. Football. So I want to see a greater appreciation by the NFL of the responsibility to the players and recognition of what it does to the bodies. And I think they're trying to get there. They're trying to get there, but there's still a long way to go.
I would say to that point, too, they need to hire a full-time staff at the referee position.
I agree, 100%.
Right?
Full-time officials, don't get me started.
It's too many times where they're not being taught the severity of not calling the pass interference or the processing of calling a penalty. You know what I'm saying?
Cam, here's the thing. Because somebody said to me, well, what would we do with them if we had them full-time? I'll come up with a schedule right now. And here's what we'll do during the season. We're all going to live in Dallas or Kansas City, somewhere centrally located. And on Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to spend all day in a big room, and we're going to go over all the plays that have any question about them from the past weekend, because we're going to make sure everybody's following the same standard. You don't have 17. You know how it is. You got 17 crews. This calls it one way. This, no. We're all together all the time, and you're not going to fly home and practice law or run your bakery or this shop or do whatever it is, sell insurance. No, you got one focus, and we're going to pay you accordingly. You got one focus. It's too important. You know why? Because of gambling.
Because I'm telling you.
Legalized gambling. That is the soft underbelly of the NFL right now. They're going to have a problem at some point because of the officiating. 100% agree with you on that.
I'll tell you this, Mike. When we were preparing for games, I knew the game was changing in a dynamic where in your offensive meeting, in the offensive scouting report, they would not only go over the key defenders to be prepared for, as a team, Ron Rivera would do it, as well as Bill Belichick would do it. What is the referees assigned to this game? They call more holding calls than the average holding calls. They call more pass interference, or they call less defensive pass interference than, like, we knew these things going into the game. I don't think the referees took into their analytics and where it's just like, you know what, I'm just going to let them play today. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so different where for this game, those referees are letting you play. For this game, it's like, nah, they being a little ticky-tacky. And it's affecting the game in a negative way, I would say.
Inconsistency is one of the biggest problems. We get to big moments in big games, and they don't want to pull the flag. Nobody wants to be the one to pull the flag. If you see holding of a receiver,
you have to call
why aren't you pulling the flag out?
You have to call it.
And I think they should have more technology involved in it. They should have more help from people who are watching, because that's the biggest problem. You got 7 people who are in no pads, no helmets, my age, trying to not get trampled, and trying to see, that went, what just happened?
What just happened?
And you've got people at home watching it on a big screen TV, and they see it.
Did you not see
that? We saw it.
Right.
So why not have officials who are actively officiating the game based on what we see?
And we're not giving the humanistic approach, and this is my last thing to this point. We're not giving humanistic reasoning to this situation. I think it was a Travis Sham mockery what happened in the Dallas Cowboys game and the Detroit Lions. When he tried to report, it was so much that was going on, and it happened so frequent that he didn't even think that it will be a thing. A lot of times, out of 1,000 times a person reports, he's never going to catch the ball. Well, that time he did. And therefore, you're in this position where I impacted the difference between now Detroit having a home game and playing away. You see what I'm saying? And that's how serious it is, but needless to say, that's my point.
Well, we agree on a lot of things.
Yes, sir.
I know we disagree on some things.
Not much.
But we agree on a lot of things.
Not much.
And you're doing great with your podcast.
Thank you.
I love it.
Mr. Florio, it's been a pleasing pleasure for you to give me the opportunity to talk.
Anything I can do to help you out at any time, I'm happy to do it, and I hope you enjoy that cigar.
Oh, my goodness. Listen, I can't wait. As they would say, Mahomes Sr. would say, smoking on that Burrow pack. I'm going to dedicate this. I'm smoking on that Florio pack.
There we go. All right, buddy.
Appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much, my man. Appreciate you. Oh. As we end things here, are you coachable? You know how to take instructions?
I know how to take instructions. What do I need to do?
Okay, here we go. One hand out. When I say all together, we're going to say one love.
All right.
But you got to follow instructions, all right?
I'll follow instructions.
One finger, one pinky, one thumb, all together, one love.
Mr. All right, my man.